Welcome to Create More. This is, I'm Jeff Straw. This is my good friend, Martin Cuevas, and we're here to talk about overcoming writer's block this month. This is our second time doing this as a live stream, so we're still working out a few of the sort of kinks and the bugs and everything else, but hopefully we've got a pretty seamless experience for you guys once it goes live. If you're here on the Restream platform with us and you're in the kind of waiting room, that's by intention. So you're not here on the screen with us during the live stream unless you're going to be participating. So if you've got something to share, when we open things up in a little bit, we'd love to have you come on board and kind of speak your piece, share your experience around the topic. And to get started, Martin and I have put together a really nice presentation for you guys to go through this overcoming writer's block topic. So, Martin, tough day for you. Are you centered? Are you with us?
I am so good right now.
Oh, nice, sweet.
Man.
All right. He's got his smart guy glasses on. I'm not wearing a hat, so I'm trying to like add credibility to myself and not like a thug today. So, yeah. So thanks for being here. I see there's like, I don't know, half a dozen of us in the room right now. And the cool thing about this platform too is it pulls all the comments from social media. So if there's someone watching on YouTube, there's someone watching on Facebook, they can, if you're watching, you can just comment in the stream and we will see it here so we can answer questions and write from any chats that are coming in. Like Ruthie Palmer just said, good evening, Jeff and Martin. So good evening, Ruthie.
Hello, Ruthie.
There we go. So without further ado, let's get into it. Martin, why did you, this was kind of your baby. This was your topic of choice. So give me a little quick, without getting into the details too much, why was this a special topic for you?
Sure. I mean, well, first off, hello. And it's not just writer's block, and it's kind of a misconception. It's all kind of art block, whatever is going on in your creative space and what it means to be stuck basically on something. I have a therapy practice where I speak with and work with mostly creatives, and a lot of them right now are suffering from this particular thing. So I figured this was a good time to bring it up, talk about it. Really excited to get everybody's feedback on it and, their thoughts on what we could do to overcome blocks when they show up. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from with the whole thing.
Awesome. I'm going to try to share the screen and we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed.
You got my fingers crossed. You got my legs crossed. Thank God.
Let's see how this looks.
There you go.
Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, I'm going to hide this little guy. And there we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, man.
So, all right. Today, what we're doing is we're talking about what happens when we experience what we could call a creative slowdown, right? Or basically an inability to produce new content at the pace that we want to create. And, there very well could be many causes of what this artistic block looks like. And basically, when you get right down to it, it often involves a mental block, fear, anxiety, all of which work to prevent you from expressing yourself freely and how you want to. So tell me if any of this stuff sounds familiar. Lack of inspiration, fear of failure, self-doubt, perfectionism, procrastination. Everybody's got an inner critic, and this inner critic, you're usually overly harsh with yourself, and this can create an even greater sense of self-doubt and make it difficult to feel confident in your abilities to create. So to help overcome this, it's often helpful to identify the underlying cause and address it directly. Go straight at it, right? Don't waste time. And this might involve finding new sources of inspiration, setting realistic goals, doing your best to silence that inner critic, or simply taking a break and engaging in other stuff that you like to do in order to recharge your batteries and refocus. So, all right, a little bit of behavioral health stuff now. So
I think I'm going to slide behind you. Hold on a second.
Sure.
So I was just on this internal struggle. Now we're talking about underlying causes. Sorry, this is with me driving the bus here. It's a little janky. Thank you. Now we're caught up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You're doing great driving the bus. It's not.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, you're doing great. Okay, so let's get down to it a little bit from a behavioral health, mental health therapist perspective. Our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, all of those things are intertwined and have a direct impact on each other. Therefore, if we can reframe our thoughts, we can subsequently change our feelings and then change our behaviors. Or if you can change how you think about a situation or how you respond to a situation, then you can change how you feel in that situation. It sounds pretty nice when it's put that way. Well, that stuff ain't easy, but it's not completely impossible. Start off, we all have core beliefs that have been growing within us since we were kids. And these beliefs are informed by our childhood experiences, deeply, deeply rooted in how we view ourselves, how we view our environment, how we view the future, along with our beliefs about these factors. Any deep belief that is fundamental to a person's interactions with the world or their sense of self, this is what we consider to be a core belief. They can be positive, negative, neutral. And some examples, beliefs about goodness, right? A person's belief that they are good or bad, or that other people are mostly good or bad. Beliefs about likability, like I am unlovable or I am likable, or beliefs about the world. The world is a dangerous place, or the world is fundamentally unfair. All of these beliefs, they start to develop in early childhood, continue developing over time, and everyone's core beliefs are different because we're all living different subjective experiences, right? We're growing up, we're kids. We're trying to make sense of the world and what's happening around us and what's happening around people around us. So in trying to find meaning or learn from this, what you do is you develop this set of beliefs. Now, because they start to develop so early, they're not always based on balanced or informed opinions, right? People, talking about people here, can unknowingly absorb messages from family, friends, teachers, the media, and those messages might influence their worldview in either positive or negative ways. And I'm going somewhere with all this, I promise. Then there are our automatic negative thoughts as well as dysfunctional assumptions. Dysfunctional assumption is we as humans, we tend to hold on to the negative more easily than the positive. However, this type of cognitive distortion or irrational thought pattern helps to distort our perceptions of reality. Then we move on to our automatic thoughts. These are the thoughts that involuntarily just pop into our heads based on our core beliefs, right? They can be difficult to recognize since they're brief and they cause negative emotions. Everybody has them. They're a natural part of being human. However, these thoughts can sometimes get out of control, impact our mood, our actions, our ability to function. They pop into our brains, and we often believe them as being totally true. However, these thoughts can often be irrational, unhelpful, or just downright incorrect. And when we believe our automatic thoughts without any consideration for their accuracy, they can quickly take over our mental space. And a bunch of examples of what it means to have an automatic negative thought. First off, there's all or nothing thinking, black or white, no gray area. So if your performance falls short of perfect, you see yourself as a total failure. There's overgeneralization, seeing a single negative event as a never-ending pattern of defeat. People have a mental filter, picking out a single negative detail and dwelling on it. People disqualify the positive in any situation. That's you just rejecting positive experiences by insisting that they don't count for whatever reason or another. This way, you can maintain a negative belief that is contradicted by your everyday experiences. Everybody jumps to conclusions. This is making a negative interpretation, even though there are no definite facts that can support your conclusion. Everybody's a mind reader in a sense. This is arbitrarily concluding that someone is reacting negatively to you, but you don't bother to really check it out. People love to fortune tell. Everybody's a fortune teller. This is just anticipating things that will turn out badly, and you feel convinced that your prediction is already an established fact. Now, there's also catastrophizing and decatastrophizing. This is magnification or minimization. This is exaggerating the importance of things. or inappropriately shrinking them until they appear tiny. Emotional reasoning, should statements, labeling and mislabeling, all examples of automatic negative thoughts. So switching gears for a minute, now we know where our thoughts have been growing and sometimes festering, and just, how they create who we are, right? But what we haven't talked about yet is fear, right? Fear, this natural human emotion that we all experience at some point in our lives, right? Caused by a variety of factors: danger, the unknown. Maybe you've experienced some trauma in your life. And while fear can be useful and it can be protective, it can also be limiting and paralyzing if we let it control us. First, it's important to recognize that fear is a subjective experience. What one person may find terrifying, somebody else may not. Our perception of fear is shaped by a number of things, including our past experiences, our cultural background, and absolutely our personal beliefs. So we acknowledge this, we can begin to understand that our fears are not necessarily based on objective reality, but rather on our own perceptions. Having artistic blocks, writer's block, whatever it might be, can usually based on fear. And that's kind of where I'm going with all this. So to change our perception of fear, it's important to challenge our beliefs and assumptions. We need to ask ourselves where our fears come from and whether they are truly rational. Often, our fears are based on false beliefs or assumptions that have been ingrained in us over time. But by examining these beliefs and challenging them, we can begin to see our fears in a new light. Another way to change our perception of fear is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness involves being present in the moment and observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we can become more aware of our fears and learn to detach from them. We can observe them objectively and recognize that there are simply thoughts and emotions that don't define us. Changing our experience of fear also involves taking some action. When we face our fears head on, we can often overcome them and realize that they were not as frightening as we initially thought. So we take small steps towards our fears, gradually building up our confidence, gradually reducing our anxiety. For example, let's say we have a fear of public speaking. We can start by speaking in front of a small group of people or something and gradually working our way up to a larger audience. Finally, it's important to seek support when dealing with fear. And this may involve talking to a trusted friend or a family member, maybe talking to somebody like me, a therapist on the other side of the screen, or joining a support group or something like that. By sharing our fears with others, we can gain new perspectives and learn from their experiences. So, changing our perception and experience of fear involves recognizing that fear is subjective, challenging our beliefs and assumptions, practicing mindfulness, taking action, seeking support. By doing all this, we can overcome our fears and hopefully deal with that writer's block, deal with that creative block, and move forward with being creative. So, I'm a big mindfulness guy. I'm like a broken record. I talk about it all day. It's something that I've been doing for a long, long time to help me get through all the stuff that I get to go through. And mindfulness can be practiced in a number of ways. And it can be a really powerful tool for creative types because you're helping to cultivate a state of awareness and presence that can enhance your creativity, could reduce your stress and anxiety, and increase overall well-being. And there are some tips and tricks that you could use for a good mindfulness practice. First and foremost, this only works if you do it. And by doing it, I mean on a regular basis, making it a habit, whatever that habit looks like for you. There's no right or wrong way to meditate or to do mindfulness. It's your own subjective experience, but it's important to set aside time for your practice, a few minutes each day, to practice a mindfulness meditation or other mindfulness techniques. This can help to quiet your mind and focus your attention, allowing for greater clarity and creativity. Mindfulness helps you cultivate a presence. So when you're working on a creative project, try to stay present in the moment and focus on the task at hand. Avoid distractions. Don't multitask if you don't have to, and give your full attention to the creative process. Imperfection is something to be embraced. Mindfulness can help you to let go of perfectionism and embrace the imperfections that are inherent in the whole creative process. And this can help to reduce anxiety, free up mental space for new ideas to emerge. Be compassionate to yourself. Creativity can be a vulnerable process, and it's important to be kind and compassionate towards yourself. To be mindful means it can help you develop self-compassion and self-acceptance, which can support your creative process and your overall well-being. You can also connect with nature. Spending time in nature can be a powerful way to cultivate mindfulness and enhance creativity. Take a walk in the woods if you've got woods. I live in the desert. There's no woods, so I walk in the desert. Or simply spend some time outdoors. I got rattlesnakes too. I got a whole thing going on out here. But connecting with the natural world and allowing your mind to relax and recharge is a great mindfulness practice. And by incorporating mindfulness into your creative practice, you can enhance your creativity, reduce stress and anxiety, and cultivate a greater sense of well-being. So that's my spiel.
Yeah, and then I've got a few others too that I chimed in with as well. So first of all, thank you for that, bro.
No problem.
For those of you guys in the room, I know that was a lot, right? Like that was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I think you breathed at least twice, maybe 3 times.
1.5 times. 1.5.
But it's all really, really fantastic info. There was a question from Shannon. She says, have you done any work around the 6 sensory imagination exercise?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Sounds like I should know what that is.
So that's a no.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out how well my color palette matches my photo on this slide before we dig into these other practical tips. Thank you very much. Okay, so let me dig into a few of mine, and then we'll kind of maybe open this up a little bit. But yeah, thank you for that and putting in the time on that, man. It was really powerful. So, less from a therapeutic kind of stance. I wanted to touch on a few that have worked for me over the years as well, just around tips around getting through blocks. For me, I love trying new things, whether that's a completely different art form. You guys know I shifted from doing music into photography, and now I kind of parallel do both. It's really helpful to bounce back and forth. New things like new locations, new things like a completely new workflow, composing music, starting from different elements. If you're used to always working one way, changing up your workflow can really impact writer's block. Another one is this notion of daily practice. Simon and I had talked about this notion of compound interest, and that when we put in daily practice on an instrument or creating in general, we really start to see this notion of compound interest build up over time. So by day 2, you're not remarkably better, but by day 14, you're noticeably better. And by day 28 and, day 90, things are really starting to take form simply because of the fact that you've touched the practice on a daily basis. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I didn't know if like-minded is supposed to be hyphenated. That does not look right to me, but hey, whatever. This room is one of those ways that we surround ourselves. It doesn't have to be in person. It can be virtually, but having community support for the creative process has been really, really helpful for me, whether that's a jam session, whether that's a Discord server, a Twitter DM group, whatever that looks like for you, finding other creatives that you can vent with, that you can share ideas with, get critical feedback with, that community aspect is really important. This kind of goes with that daily practice notion, but allowing yourself, and Martin, you called this embracing imperfection, but allowing myself to create something that I know isn't maybe going to be a keeper, but allowing myself to enjoy the process of creating it anyways. And I think that is a really important process, especially if we're blocked and we have this notion of perfection. Just breaking through the ice and saying, I'm just going to make something, even though I know it's going to be a throwaway, is very freeing. Trusting the process in general, knowing that I have struggled before and found a voice. I've completed work before. I know that I will be able to do that again. And knowing that, there's people that have come before me. There's people that have come before you that have gone through this process and embraced it. And just knowing that like completing this notion of a cycle of work and releasing our creative works out into the world, there's something very satisfying about that. And so not getting too hung up on any one step of the process. The last one of these that I wanted to give you guys is just this notion of revisiting the same place, whether it's as a landscape photographer, maybe that's a motif or even a key signature that you like to write in or like to improvise in. Perhaps it's painting the same subject again and again, whatever that looks like. When you force yourself to come back to that same location or that same subject matter, it frees us up to be with something familiar, but it pushes us to find new ways to look at it, right? So those two components can be really freeing. There's a comfort level in knowing that, oh, I've been here before. I know how the light interacts with this building or this tree or this mountain, but I'm going to push myself to find something different. And I think that when we're stuck, especially, that can be a very useful piece. The very last one of these is like, for years I used to tell Hillary that I got to go and work on music. I got to go work on music. I got to go work on music. And that phrase fell out of my mouth all the time. And I realized that when I treated it more like I get to go make music, I get to go create music, it had a very different feeling internally than this drudgery of like, oh, I have to go work on a track. And so just reframing it for me was also really helpful. So a few of them from me as well. I think that's the end of this puppy. Yes. So there we go. I'm going to stop the screen share. Hopefully my computer won't freeze. Oh, look at that. It automatically stops when I get to the... wow. I love this thing. So
fancy.
There you have it. We hit a half-hour mark. Nicely done, buddy. Do those 6 or 7 I gave there at the end, does anything there resonate with you? And this would be the point too. Anybody in the room that's sort of in the waiting room, if you guys want to shoot a message that you want to come up and share on any of the things that we just talked about, love to hear your kind of take on this, and maybe something that Martin touched on that has really worked for you, or you've got a question for him about mindfulness or about any of these sort of core beliefs. Vikas, is that you waving your mic that you want to come up? No? Just adjusting the mic. Okay. It's weird that I can see you guys, but you're not on screen, isn't it? Yes, I'm like spying on everyone. This Restream platform is super cool. Again, we're still just getting used to it, but I do like a lot of the little features here. Am I still choppy for you, Martin, or is it calmed down?
No, you're looking good.
Right, sweet. That's good to hear. So questions. Anybody? Thoughts? No prayers?
I mean, you want to be an artist. You want to be an artist.
Shannon's got one. She says,
"Oh,
is there a starting point for the mindfulness practice?" So let's talk about like early. I've never done it. What's a good way to get into it? You have a ton of experience around this, but
yeah, a simple mindfulness practice is as simple as finding a quiet spot somewhere, as free from as much distraction as possible, and breathing, focusing on your breath as you breathe in and out. And the thing that I do is I focus on this little space right up here between my nose and my upper lip. I do that for 5 minutes, and I've done a mindfulness practice. And it's free. You could do it anywhere as long as it's quiet. But if you want some support, then a guided meditation would be the way to go. And you could just jump on YouTube, type in guided meditation, and a ton of stuff will pop up. And there'll be somebody like me talking you through it with music and a bunch of other stuff. Some of them are really long. Some of them are not so long. But to get started, all you have to do is find a spot that's quiet, close your eyes, and breathe. The whole notion of mindfulness is that you're observing what's happening without being emotionally reactive to it. You're observing things for just what they are. So in that sense, at some point when you get really good at it, and you only get really good at it if you keep practicing it, you're practically regulating your emotions, which is not an easy thing to do. But again, with practice, it could be something that can be really beneficial for you. So if you had YouTube is a great place for it if you wanted to go check some stuff out.
Do you have like a timing? Sorry, Jeff, I just saw that I got live and I was like, I'm gonna keep asking.
Please,
Do you
that's why I
have
brought you
like,
up.
if we're just starting this type of thing, right? Like, do you have like
Yeah.
a time that we should start? Because I know that like in the past when I've meditated, it's been like, you really have to build up this kind of stuff. And is it just sort of like that kind of, it's like a meditative, you're just taking that breath kind of moment? Is that what you mean by mindfulness?
Yes. So, all right. Let's for example, I want to be mindful right now, and I want to do a meditation practice. Right. I will sit in either in this chair or another quiet spot in the house. Close my eyes. Maybe put music on. Maybe not put music on. It's really up to you. It doesn't really make a difference. Sit there. Close my eyes. Focus only on my breath. That is it. Close out the rest of the world. Follow the breath as it enters your nose, down your windpipe into your lungs, feeling your lungs expand. And once you start getting good at it, you could start looking for any tension that's in your body and hopefully breathing that tension out. That is a good way to start something like that. The thing is, it's not always going to work, but you can't let that stop you from to keep doing it, because the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the better you get at it, the more you're able to regulate your emotions and just live better, I think. Like I meditate twice a day. Like I have to at this point, because it does wonders for me. And I do a real specific thing, not for everybody, but I've been doing it for years at this point. And I swear by it, for everybody, no matter if you're creative or not. Sitting there, just focusing on one thing does wonders for your brain.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Shannon. While you're here, anything else? Are you good? Okay. You're awesome. I feel like a lot of people think you have to do it perfectly to start, right? Like I need my Zen approved incense and my crystal healing bowls and have to have the right music and the right chair and like all the, instead of just like, I'm just going to try it and tomorrow maybe I'll try again and be like that much incrementally better. And I think from what I've learned from you in past sessions is that, just trying it is so much drastically better than simply waiting for the right time to get started. Yeah. Maybe expand on that.
There's never going to be a right time. The time is now, basically. If you want, same as, look, you want to be a guitar player, play the guitar, no matter what. You're not looking for perfection. You want to do mindfulness. Exactly. See, I got mine right back. You want to be a good meditator, then just start meditating. And if you need that extra little guidance to start off, find a guided meditation. There's some great apps like Calm or Headspace that all have YouTube channels that are great for this kind of stuff. I listen to something called The Sacred Cosmos. Little plug for them, but they write this really awesome, trippy music for different moods and different creative things and whatnot.
Maybe pop a link down to that if you can.
Sure.
Sure. Vikas has a question, and good to see you here, by the way, buddy. I'm glad you made it. Can you give advice or talk more about burnout versus taking a break, and in parentheses, breaking the daily practice? So I think, this notion of mindfulness is a fantastic way to bring yourself off the edge of burnout, right? Like most of us experience burnout because of, obviously we're working hard and probably long hours, but also the mental capacity and the mental sort of game around the worry of things, that if things don't turn out the way that we hope they will, if things don't go the way that we want them to, and the worry and the anxiety about the outcomes. Oh, he just went off camera. I'll hide that back. It can be really, really stress inducing, right? And so that is one of the things that contributes to burnout more than anything. And I think that this notion of mindfulness is the absolute best way to sort of combat that piece of it. Martin, do you have some thoughts too around that?
I agree with pretty much everything you just said. Stopping and taking a break from it, stepping away, usually does a lot for you if you can, because you just get so wrapped up. Like, you're actually being mindful with your work, right? Because you're just so wrapped up on it. So it takes some strength to just, step away, do anything else, go breathe, go outside, sit on the bench, stare at some trees, whatever it is, connect with nature, whatever you can do. And again, like, perfectionism, while is what we want, shouldn't really be the goal. The creative process, in my opinion, should be the goal. Like, we want to create whatever it might be. Sure, we have goals. We want to get to a certain place. This is our livelihood too. We're trying to make money on this stuff, but your mental space, your mental well-being should be top of the list for you. Therefore, you can create effectively once your mind is straight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I personally do a lot of meditation. I still I still find it difficult, especially when you've gone past the initial lightning, like you've discovered that idea and you're trying to get it to the finish. There's a sort of obsessiveness that kind of takes over, and it's not all that different from I don't know, identifying too much with your thoughts. Like, you just get too wrapped up in it, and it's hour 4 and you needed to take a walk 2 hours ago. You know what I mean? Like that, I definitely feel that a lot. And then I end up you kind of end up abandoning your track, or whatever it is that you're working on, or a project, because it starts to become a thing that's starts to become more painful than it is expressive. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
And,
I think producers are notorious for holding up in the studio and not seeing the light of day for 36 hours,
Yeah.
40, right? We've all been there, and and gamers are the same way. Gamers are potentially even worse, right? Because their software has got the dopamine hits every time they, pass a new level or whatever. And so, but these two kind of paths both can be really, really problematic for that notion of burnout, which, while it's not the same thing as writer's block, it's certainly related, right? Because if you are working so much to the point of being ineffectual, you're going to end up struggling with writer's block maybe the next day when you come back in and you don't feel as refreshed because you put in just too many hours in a row the previous night, or you're not getting enough sleep, right? There's a lot of sort of health and wellness factors, I think, that all kind of play into this. But hopefully that helps a little bit, brother.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Nice. Shannon had another question here, which thanks again, Vikas. I appreciate you, brother. Shannon, you want to come back up here for a sec? You said you heard this thing, I'm not afraid to be seen trying. I love that.
That's beautiful.
That's my whole YouTube
Yeah.
channel.
Right? It was
Pretty much,
one of those things where it's it's one of those things where I have to remind myself, because to me, it's the observer of self that's really my stock. I am petrified to submit an audition. I'm I can do it. I can record it. Hitting that send button and being just put yourself out there is a stopgap. And so I have to, I heard that today, and it blew my mind. I was like, it's okay for you to be seen trying, because it doesn't phrase it as failure. It phrases it as you're trying, you're learning in this new thing, you're putting it it just really, it shook me to my roots today. And yeah, I thought it would be pleasant to share with people. I'm not afraid to be seen trying, even in myself. Reframes the fail, I'm not afraid to be failing. I'm not failing, I'm trying. I'm giving it, what I've got with the knowledge that I have. I thought it was pretty
well, and there's a huge safety net to doing all the work up until the moment of upload. right?
Absolutely.
Or publish or whatever the button
Mhm.
is for your platform, right? It's like why so many producers have 1,000, like 95% done songs on their hard drives, or photographers have all this work that no one's ever seen. Like that notion of, well, it's perfect to me if no one ever like tells me otherwise, and they can't tell me otherwise if I don't put it out into the world. So again, not exactly this notion of writer's block, but it is a big time block in the process, right? And it's one of the most deadly because it can keep people from ever, and Simon helped me coin this term, this notion of the cycle of work, which is releasing it and then marketing it and doing your best to kind of raise some awareness to it. And maybe an audition isn't quite the same because it's not necessarily public, but at least publishing it to the casting directors or whatever. If no one ever hits upload or send, like we don't grow, right? And it's not that we need the feedback from the market. It's not that we need the feedback from any one particular person, but it's this sense of completion that you get by like, okay, it's finished now. Now I can actually clear headspace, empty the cache or the RAM in my brain, and move on to my next piece and my next project, right? And we don't get that luxury if we don't release our little creative.
Well, it's so funny because when you do it, when you do release it, you hit send, there's like that just as like your adrenaline just like drops and you're like, oh, thank God, like it's off my plate. It's not like I don't have to beat myself up anymore. I don't have to like be like, you need to go do music. You need to go work on music. Like it's done. And that like I love that feeling. And
It's
yet
that,
I do
like,
everything that I fight, like, yeah,
cross it
I
off
love
the
that feeling,
list.
but it's pushing, it's running up against that final inertia of, it's crazy that because I know I love that feeling. I know I'm gonna want to hit submit. I know I want to, and yet still, it's a block for sure.
So, speaking of crossing stuff off a list, there's something magical about putting pen to paper when you're trying to do anything, and not just on your phone typing it out, but actually, there you go, perfect. And journaling itself is a form of mindfulness, right? I know a lot of folks that just wake up in the morning and write down 3 things that they're grateful for, right? And then they start off their day pretty good, or do it at night so you can sleep better. Write it down, accomplish it, cross it off the list. Holy crap, does that feel good? It really, really does. Yeah, big fan of it. Big fan.
Thanks. My voice cracked on that. That was charming. Thanks. I think. Well, y'all are fairly quiet this evening. Anybody else have something they want to kind of pop in? I don't want to drag this out if we don't have anybody wants to hop in, but I also clearly we're here and we're here for you guys. Anybody on socials too that's watching, you can just pop a question in on the chat and we will see it.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, she says.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I love it. That's, Shannon, you've been coming to these for a long time, right? And when we were on Zoom, it was a little less daunting, I think, to just hop in and just say a few things. And so I appreciate you, being here and participating. It's why we do these. But it also just looks better without a whole bunch of empty rooms, or else I'd have everybody up here. Well, what was I going to say? So for me, we just moved, right? This is the first one of these we've done in my new place. I'm really pretty happy with how this whole room is looking. I've been focusing a little bit on short form YouTube content for reels, and also multi-purposing it over to Instagram and to TikTok. But I haven't uploaded a long form video in quite some time. And so this topic, is front of mind for me too. I think it comes from a little bit less of the mental health side of a writer's block and more of the overwhelm of I don't have a space and a house and my things are in boxes kind of thing, right? But now that I'm pretty much settled and we're pretty much settled over here, it feels really good to kind of be able to shift gears. I've been booking a whole lot of work coming up, both on looking at my calendar here, both on the music side and on the photography side. I just got to shoot the Crystal Method on Saturday, which was amazing. I got to shoot on Thursday. I got asked by the Hush Concerts people to shoot this amazing gig by this artist named Modern Biology. He takes sensory electromagnetic impulse inputs from plants and feeds them into his modular synthesizer and then makes music out of them. And so every plant has different types of signals. He played like, I forget what the first one was, but he did a few different kinds of mushrooms, which were really cool. And then at the end, he hooked up to this redwood tree, and it was just like the most amazing way to spend an evening. And we were in the middle of this redwoods grove at UC Berkeley. And so super grateful, right, to just have that as my re-entry point back into doing some shooting and some client work, which was just a magical experience. This guy's just a wonderful human, right? And the whole audience was this very, like, I don't know, there were people crying and there were people dancing and laughing, and like it just evoked crazy intense emotions out of people. And everybody had their own set of headphones because it was a silent disco. So it was this like really intimate performance. Really cool. So I say that to say this, like, I'm excited to get back out to start to shoot again a little bit more, pick my drone class back up. And then I've got a whole bunch of saxophone gigs kind of in the next 5-6 weeks too. So that's exciting. So good things on my end. Martin, it's great to see you here, brother.
Great to see you, friend.
Thank you for hopping into these with me. If you guys have ideas around what you'd like to see for a topic next month, let us know. I'd love to deep dive into something that is going to be meaningful for some of y'all. Otherwise, I'm sure we'll come up with something, but feel free to drop that, on all the socials. I'll see it. Hop into the Discord if you want. And I'll put that link here again. That's there is all the links. So you can get all my socials, but also the link straight to the Discord server is there. That's probably the easiest way to find it. And then be a part of the community. And I don't know, lastly, I just would like to thank everybody for kind of spending the hour or the better part of an hour with us this evening. Russell, Ted, I know you guys didn't hop up, but it's good to see you. You guys, I appreciate y'all being here. And if that's kind of my final thoughts. You got anything you want to close with, Martin? Any words of encouragement?
Just, thank you for having me to do this. This is always a lot of fun. Stay mindful, party people. I'm telling you, it'll get you. All right, real quick. So I'm not a creative in the sense that it's my livelihood, right? I'm a therapist and everything else. So my mindfulness is the creative stuff that I do.
Cool.
Like the more complicated it is, the better it is for me because it's taking up all of my brain power. Like playing that classical guitar back there, reading a new piece of music, it's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy at all. Or doing my photography work, taking pictures of outer space, that's not easy either. So the more it takes up my brain pod, the better it is for me because I get to shut off the rest of the world. That's kind of a neat little mindfulness trick too. But otherwise, I'll just keep blabbing on.
No. That's great because I love exploring this with you a little bit. Is the notion that because it requires such intense sort of frontal lobe focus, it's almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Like mandated mindfulness, right? Because like you simply can't be successful at that task if you're all over the place. You're going to play the wrong notes. Your stars are going to be out of focus, whatever. Right. So, that's cool. That's definitely cool. For me, flying the drone is very much that because I don't want to crash that thing. Right. And there's like a lot of different things I have to focus on. Like, yes, I'd like the picture to look pretty. And I've done a few of those that look really nice, but mostly I'm like, oh my God, I'm flying something. Please don't crash this very expensive toy. Right. Like, what do all these numbers mean? And what do these dials do? And and so again, if I was having a bad day when I go out to fly, like it all dissipates because it's just I'm so present. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for being here. I'm gonna wrap this one up. But great to see you. I hope that everybody has the opportunity to go create something wonderful this week, and we will see you. We'll see you on the other side. That's a weird close, but whatever. I'm running with it. All right, bye guys. Love you. Be safe.